Good day, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of our lecture series in Introduction to Philosophy of the Human Person. For today's episode, our topic is all about philosophical reflection. So, what is philosophical reflection? Okay, they define reflection as the process that would aid in understanding the holistic point of view of what is going on around us. So, if we are thinking deeply, if we are pondering deeply, and considering all aspects of this object or problem, we are considering the holistic point of view of this thing that happens around us. We are reflecting. So that is reflection. So normally we are using reflection. Normally we are reflecting, especially if we want to solve a certain problem. Normal sa tao ang may problema, di ba? Sabi nga sa inyo, is an abnormal it's abnormal for a person na siya ay walang problema. So, kapag ikaw ay may problema, normally, ang ginagawa mo is mag-iisip ka. Mag-iisip ka kung ano ang magandang solusyon dito sa iyong problema. Kapag may tanong na nagbabother sa iyong mind, ikaw ay mag-iisip na magandang sagot. Maaring magtanong ka sa ibang tao, kumuha ng mga ideas, exchange your views, your arguments with them para makakuha ka ng magandang result or answer to that questions na nagbabother sa iyong mind. Okay, so in that case, you are reflecting. Now, philosophers always search for the essence of things and the ultimate reasons for our existence. That's why always all philosophers, they are applying reflection. They are always reflecting because they are thinking deeply, they are pondering deeply. That's why they are called as great thinkers. So its trajectory is to see the bigger picture of everything. Kaya nga ang mga philosophers walang katapusan na naghahanap ng kasagutan sa mga tanong or sa mga katanungan tungkol sa bagay-bagay at tungkol sa kahulugan or meaning of our existence in this world. So, when you are doing this, when the philosophers are searching for the essence of things and the ultimate reasons for existence, and they consider all aspects of these things, what they are doing is they are applying this so-called philosophical reflection. So, in short, philosophical reflection is always used not only in philosophy but in all disciplines. So in research, in science, in sociology, in economics. So kapag ang mga researchers, kapag ang mga sociologists, ang economists, when they are analyzing this particular problem, for example, sa ekonomiya, kung paano babangon ang ating ekonomiya sa gitna nitong nangyaring pandemic, they will consider all aspects of this thing. They are studying, they are philosophically reflecting with this particular issue. So they are applying holistic approach. So when we are applying philosophical reflection, we are applying holistic approach. Remember our lesson before? So holistic approach is one of the processes of philosophy. Okay, so let's move on. So what are the types of philosophical reflection? So there are two types. We have the primary reflection and the secondary reflection. Okay, let's differentiate. Primary reflection, this is the ability of the mind to construct and evaluate arguments. It examines its object by abstraction or by thinking deeply, by analyzation, or by analytically breaking it down into its constituent parts. It is concerned with definitions, essences, and technical solutions to the problem. So, in short, if we are reflecting class, and what we are doing is we are breaking down this particular problem, this particular object or system into its component parts or into its constituent parts. What we are doing is we are doing or applying the so-called primary reflection. Okay, in short, primary reflection applies the so-called analytic approach. So, yan sinasabi ko na. Normally, kapag may problema ang tao, by instinct, gagamitan niya ng philosophy because he's going to think which is the best solution to this problem, which is the best answer to this question. So, when you are analyzing the problem, the object, the system into its component parts, you are applying analytic approach. So in primary reflection, we are applying analytic approach. Okay, now, but if you are going to solve the problem by considering all aspects related to this object, related to the system, or related to this problem, we are applying secondary reflection. What is secondary reflection? Look, it enables us to look deeper into our experiences and see the bigger picture of reality. It integrates the fragmented experiences into a whole. It is the idea that various systems should be viewed as a whole, not merely as collection of parts. So in short, in secondary reflection, we are applying holistic approach, while in primary reflection, we are applying analytic approach because in primary reflection, we are breaking down this particular object or problem into its component parts in order for us to analyze this problem or object deeply, comprehensively. But in secondary reflection, we are considering all other aspects of related to this problem. We view this we view this object as a whole. Sabi nga, not merely as a collection of parts. So those are the two types of philosophical reflection. We have primary reflection and secondary reflection. Okay, let's move on. This time, they said that in order for you to reflect philosophically, you need to use framework. And what is framework? Okay, framework is a conceptual map consisting of views and beliefs, our views and beliefs, in order for us to understand this object, in order for us to understand this particular problem. Okay, in this discussion, we will use the framework formulated by Ken Wilber, and he called it as AQAL. What is AQAL framework? All quadrants, all levels framework. Okay. Framework 1 of Ken Wilber is on the screen. Look, it is a quadrant divided into 4. The first quadrant is the right portion, the upper right and the lower right, and the left portion, the upper left and the lower left. The right portion represents the exterior, the objective aspects of everything, while the left portion, the upper left and the lower left, represents the subjective and the interior aspects of everything, while the upper part, upper left and upper right, it represents singular or the one, while in the lower part, lower left and lower right, it represents the collective and many, so opposite. Look, so again, upper left, it represents what? Upper left, it represents the interior individual, because on the left portion, whether it's upper or lower, it represents what? It represents interior or subjective aspects of everything. While on the right portion, whether it's upper or lower, it represents what? It represents the exterior or objective part of everything. Okay, so we can say that upper left is the interior of individual, while the upper right is the exterior of individual, while the lower left is the interior of the collective or many, while the lower right is the exterior of uh, collective or many. Okay, okay, look. So framework one is the quadrants with its simple location. So look, we can use the simple location of the quadrant. So the interior of the individual is the upper left quadrant or UL. The exterior of the individual is the upper right quadrant or the UR. The interior of the collective is the lower left quadrant or lower left LL, and the exterior of the collective is the lower right quadrant. So this is the framework, and this is just a simple explanation. So framework one, framework one of Ken Wilber, all quadrant, all levels, or AQAN with a simple location, and this is the simple explanation. Okay, so let's move on. Framework 2 of Ken Wilber AQAL. So this time, we change it with pronoun. So that is why framework 2 quadrants as expressed in language. Okay, look. So we can say this time that the interior of individual is I. So the exterior of the individual is it, and the exterior of the individual is we, and the exterior of the individual is they. So we change the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right with language. So this time we use pronoun. So I is singular, individual, interior. You said I, ako. So it, ito, we, kami, they, sila. Look, what is in interior? In interior, it refers to all things that we cannot perceive by our five senses, or we cannot measure. For example, our dreams, our values, our culture. So, in short, those that belong to our inner life. How about in the exterior, on the right portion? It refers to those things that can be perceived by our five senses. So those things that can we touch, can we see, can we smell, or that can be perceived by our five senses. For example, I, ako, individual, we, kami. So plural, because upper part is for individual or individual or singular. For lower part, collective or plural. Again, in the left portion, interior. On the right portion is exterior. So when we say I, for example, I am smiling. I am smiling right now, for example. So, nakita niyo akong ngumiti, di ba? So, is it, for example, when you see my smile, di ba? Yung ngiti ko, na makita niyo akong ngumiti. Yung ngiti, yung nakita niyong pagngiti ko in my facial expression, that is exterior. So, dito yon, exterior, individual, but objective. Ngayon, but there is what? There is a meaning when you are going to smile, di ba? For example, sasabihin mo, siya ay ngumiti, siguro masaya siya. Yun yung interior. So, interior of individual, yung pagiging masaya. Paano mo nakikita ang masaya? Kasi nakita mo yung exterior, ngumiti. Di ba? Okay, kung Kung collective, nakita mo, nagkakagulo yung mga tao o nagkakagulo yung mga grupo ng tao sa isang lugar. Ngayon, ang nakita mo sila, nagkakagulo, they, exterior. Pero may malalim palang dahilan o kahulugan bakit sila nagkakagulo. Maaaring may pinaplano or maaaring they have problem that they want to solve. Normally, if the group of people are chaotic, di ba, yung magulo, there is a problem. So, yung nakikita mong action nila na magpagiging magulo, yun yung exterior. Ngayon, yung dahilan or yung meaning, bakit sila kakagulo, yung pala nagugutom or yung pala may problem, di ba? Yun yung what? Yun yung interior. Okay? So, look. So, in quadrants as expressed in language, the interior of the individual is the pronoun I, as what I said. The exterior of the individual is the pronoun it. The interior of the collective is the pronoun we for plural collective. And the exterior of the collective is the pronoun they. Okay? So, let's move on with framework 3 of Ken Wilber, AQAL, framework 3. This time, we change it with what? Or this time, we applied it to human beings since our subject is philosophy of the human person. So, if we will apply Ken Wilber AQAL framework to human beings, so we will change what? We'll change its quadrant. So the first quadrant now, yung upper left, when we change it with language I, it represents the mind. Okay, interior, we cannot see. We cannot see those things that we are thinking. Okay, then the upper right, exterior, is our body. Then the lower left, collective, is the culture. And the lower right, collective, is the society. Let's repeat. For upper left, individual, we change it with mind. For upper right, individual, exterior, we change it with body. For lower left, collective, interior, we change it with culture. And for the lower right, collective, exterior, we change it with society. Okay. Why we change mind with upper left, individual, interior? As what I said, we cannot see those things that we are thinking. And for culture, we cannot see our dream, we cannot see our value, we cannot see our some parts of our norms, which is part of the culture, diba? So that's why collective, interior, it is in the lower left. Ngayon, can we see our body? Yes. Can we touch our body? Yes. That's why exterior, individual. But if this group of people who belong to this particular society or group, collective body, diba? So we can see them. So that's why mind, individual, interior, body, individual, exterior, culture, collective, interior, and society, collective, exterior. Okay, look. So the inside of the individual becomes the mind, or as what I said, the outside of the individual becomes the body because we can touch our body. The inside of the collective becomes the culture. So group, collective, plural. So for example, your dream of other people, the values of your values, His values, the values of the people living in this society, is a part of culture. That's why the inside of the collective becomes the culture, and the outside of the collective becomes the society. Because those people, those bodies of people in the society, you will see them, you will perceive them using your five senses. Okay, so as we go along this time, we will apply the philosophical reflection using this quadrant. This time, framework 4 of Ken Wilber, AQAL. So we will change now. What? We will change now the mind with subjective, and we will change body with objective. Why we change it with subjective? Kasi class, pag sinabing subjective, yun yung nasa iyo. Yun yung paniniwala mo. Pag sinabing objective, yun naman yun naman yung gusto mong gawin para dun sa nakikita mo. For example, what is your objective in writing this poetry? You want to entertain others. Look, that is your objective. But if you are subjective, you are going to what? You are going to include your emotion. Sometimes you are biased. So in that case, you are subjective. That's why it is in interior. While objective, you are not thinking of yourself, but you are thinking of the others. Okay, now, for the lower part, interior, intersubjective. So, ito, individual. Individual, interior, subjective. Sa'yo yan. Ngayon, if you are going to what? Interact. For example, if you are going to exchange your opinion with the opinion of others. So, kaya nga pag minsan, pinagpipilitan mo yung opinion mo, paniniwala mo yan, you are very subjective in that case. Ngayon, yun din paniniwala niya, pinagpipilitan niya, intersubjective. Diba? Ngayon, kung kayo ay very objective, you are not focusing to your own opinion. You are going to open your mind and accept the opinion of others, and until you come up with a very good solution. That is interobjective. Exterior. Exterior what? Exterior collective. Now, there is topic at the center. So, this is, or it represents the object, it represents the problem that we want to solve. Ayan. So, if we are going to reflect philosophically, you will consider all of these, what? All of these aspects. Okay, look. For example, when we reflect on the nature of any concrete issue, like poverty, corruption, prostitution, or global warming, or any problems in the society, we can just put the issue at the center. And sinasabi ko ngayon na, you will put the issue at the center, then analyze its mental, physical, cultural, and social components. Look, when we say mental, we are referring to what? We are referring to our mind. When we say physical, we are referring to our body, physical body. Cultural refers to our culture, dreams, aspiration, values. And social, we are referring to our society. So look, when we are going to analyze a problem, for example, let's say corruption, or let's say poverty, tingnan nyo, if you are going to reflect philosophically, you are going to consider these four aspects, or these four aspects included in the quadrants: the mental, physical, cultural, and social components. Look, you will consider your mind, mental, you will consider your body, physical, you will consider your culture, cultural, and you will consider society, social. So if you will consider all these aspects, what you are applying, this is looking at an issue from all quadrants. It is multiple and holistic perspective. So Philosophical reflection, it applies, or philosophical reflection applies holistic perspective. Okay, so let's see. Look, in framework 5, we add the issue. Look, yun nyo, we use poverty. Now, so for interior individual, subjective self-pity. When you are, pag kayo may self-pity, ba yung self-pity is yung nawa sa sarili because you are poor, ayan, that is individual interior. Now, malnutrition. Oh, physical yan. Pag ikaw ay malnourished, you will see it in your physical body. So, malnutrition, it is because of poverty. Diba? Ngayon, collective aspiration for a better life. Ngayon, because of poverty, yung gusto mo, yung gusto nyo, yung aspiration mo, yung iyong dream na magkaroon ng magandang buhay ng inyong lugar or ng society nyo o group of people in that particular place ay hindi nyo natutupad, it is because of this issue. It is because of poverty. Ngayon, what causes poverty in the society normally? Okay, we said, because of inflation. What is inflation? Yung pagbagsak ng ekonomiya, di ba? So, after you analyze using this multiple, what do you call this? Or these aspects, the individual interior, you found out self-pity. Sa exterior individual, malnutrition. Collective aspiration for a better life, hindi natutupad, is because of poverty. That is collective interior. And the cause of poverty is inflation. That is social. So look, all of this class, sabi, how do we reflect on the issue using AQAL framework? So quadrants as expressed in multiple perspectives with the issue of poverty. So look, we know that poverty has a psychological aspect. You will see it in upper left quadrant. It is in the mind, subjective. Then it affects the way we think or look, feel, and even what we value. So, because of poverty, dahil sa kahirapan, naapektuhan tayong mag-isip, yung ating nararamdaman, at even what we value. It is because of poverty. Okay, that is the first aspect. Second aspect, but it does not stop there. So, kung sinolve mo daw yung problema using yung first quadrant lang, you solve it psychologically. How about physically? How about culturally? How about socially? If that is the case, what you apply is analytic approach only. Okay. Poverty also affects our bodies. Look, that is under the upper right quadrant, and that is a body objective. It affects our nutrition. Look, nutrition, our medication, and immune system. Diba? Okay. But some children have stunted growth due to poverty. And who could deny that poverty also affects, ayan, look, the culture such as arts, religion, and even the way we dress. Hindi ka na makabili ng mga bagong damit, hindi ka na makasabay sa mga fashion, even your religion, even your values are not affected. The group of people. So, culture, yan yung nasa lower left collective. And of course, it is obvious that poverty has an economic, political, even technological components, all parts of the social, lower right quadrant. Okay? So, let's change it, or let's apply. Let's apply and analyze philosophically, reflect philosophically by changing the issue. Let's change it with COVID-19. COVID-19, ayan, nakabago, di ba? So, our issue is COVID-19. Let's see, individual, interior, self-pity. Okay, pwede, self-pity. Sometimes, di ba, depression, anxiety. Ayan, dyan papasok yan sa individual, what? Sa individual interior. It is because of COVID-19, di ba? Ang daming nagkaroon na de-depress, nagkaroon ng anxiety, self-pity, plus individually, akala nila parang hindi na babalik sa normal, di ba? At yung dating normal na ginagawa ay hindi na nagagawa. So, kaya self-pity, maring hindi ka paano ako makakatulong ma-solve itong COVID-19? So, that is individual. Individual interior. Ang ginawa natin, pinalitan nating issue this time COVID-19. Okay, sabi nga natin, ano yung mga nasa individual interior through COVID-19? Ayan, normally, some individuals nagkaroon ng depression, anxiety, na humahantong pa kung minsan sa suicide, di ba? Okay, so, under ng upper right quadrant. Okay, physical, objective, di ba? But you see, ayan, there are some people na yung mga individual, makikita mo, pwede malnutrition din. It's because of lack of food, hindi nabibigyan ng ayuda, kulang sa pagkain, ay kung nagtagal pa nga yan, ay magkakaroon ng more problem na mahantong din sa kamatayan na nakararami. And in COVID-19, what you will see, di ba, yung mga tinatamaan ng COVID. So pag nagkakaroon ng COVID, makikita mo, pina-quarantine. So that is exterior individual. So culture, intersubjective. Okay, for example, pwede rin to, collective aspiration for a better life. Yung ating mga plano, yung ating mga dreams, ayan, katulad sa mga estudyante, walang face-to-face. Nasa tayo ngayon, online class, virtual class, di ba? So, it's because of COVID-19 na stop. Di ba? Okay. Here, ito ang malaking epekto ng COVID-19. It has an effect to our economy. Di ba? Bagsak ang ekonomiya, maraming nawalan ng trabaho, maraming nagsarang kumpanya, di ba? So, yung iba umaasa sa tulong ng gobyerno. So, look, pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat, yung iyong analysis sa individual interior, individual exterior, collective interior, and collective exterior, you are considering all these four aspects all these aspects included in its quadrant. You are applying holistic approach. You are reflecting philosophically. Okay? So, before I end, I do include this another framework. And this is the framework of Johari. Sometimes we call it as Johari's window. Normally, it is applied in psychology. Okay, look. In Johari's window, there are 4 windows, like quadrant also. But in the upper left quadrant, he named it as open self. In the upper right quadrant, he named it as blind spot. In the lower left, he termed it as hidden self, and on the lower right, he termed it as unknown. Okay, look, open self. Ito raw yung alam mo sa sarili mo, known to self, and alam din ng iba. Alam mo sa sarili mo yan at alam nila. So, open. Ngayon, ano itong blind spot? Nakikita ng iba sa iyo pero hindi mo nakikita sa sarili mo. Ang alam mo, yung ginagawa mo, tama, pero sa iba pala ay mali na yan. Okay. So, ano naman itong hidden self? Known to self, alam mo, pero hindi alam ng iba. Yan yung mga sikreto mo. Di ba? So, ano naman itong unknown? Unknown to you and unknown to others. So, unknown, yan yung mga bagay na i-discover mo pa lang na i-discover mo kasi hindi mo alam sarili mo at hindi din alam ng iba. Itong open self, alam mo na, alam ng iba, na-discover mo na. Yung blind spot, alam ng iba pero hindi mo alam. Kailangan mo matutunan. Yung mga pagkakamali mo na alam mo ay tama pero sa iba pala ay hindi. Nakikita nila pero ikaw hindi mo nakikita sa sarili mo. Itong hidden self, ito yung alam mo sa sarili mo pero hindi mo binabahagi sa iba, sinisikreto mo. Okay, so why I did include it in this discussion? Kasi nakita ko yung quadrant ni Ken Wilber is yung framework niya in a form of quadrant. So when we are analyzing also, especially when we are analyzing one particular problem, our problem, ayan, we can apply Johari's window. For example, I have a problem. For example, I have a problem, ginagawa ko, hindi ko alam na mali na pala itong ginagawa ko. It is because of what? It is because of others, they remind me na mali yung ginagawa ko. Diba? Nakakatulong din, i-analyze mo. So, for example, this one, unknown, hindi mo alam, hindi alam ng iba, yan yung mga bagay na gusto mong i-discover or na-discover mo kasi nga, hindi mo pa alam. So, this framework also is very much helpful when we are what? When we are analyzing the problem. Okay? So, sabi nga dito, to help people better understand their relationship with themselves and others, ayan, you can apply this Johari's window. Okay? That's all for this episode. I hope that you have learned and gained more knowledge in this discussion. Until next episode, see you on episode 4. Bye-bye!